language.
No one does. It's a lost language.
You're right.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the 100th episode of the League of Amazing Adventurers.
Aww.
Shocking.
Episode 100. 100 sessions, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
I can't grasp that concept.
100 sessions. If we do 50 more, we will have the same number of sessions as there are Pokemon in the Generation 1 Pokedex.
Don't we need to do 51 more?
Is it 151?
Let's name them all. No.
Bulbasaur, Venusaur, Ivysaur, Charizard. Cue Pokemon.
That was a double audio assault there.
Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon. There was a time when I could do that entire Poke rap from memory.
But it's not now.
Yeah.
So there
So
was
yes.
a time, but that time is not now.
She said it. They
Who's
hated
that?
Jesus because he spoke the truth.
It's a weird way to mention the milestone. Well, I couldn't think of any good facts about 100. Oh, here we go. The 100th episode, meaning we've done the same amount of episodes as children that were ejected from a space station in the future and returned to Earth. Because the 100.
What the fuck are you on? What?
Oh, was
the
that really
100.
what that show was about?
Yes,
I thought it was about the post-apocalypse. With
it was. It was a
lesbians.
post-apocalypse. They were in space, and then they broke rules on the space station. So the space station said, "Okay, so you're sentenced to. We don't sentence people to death. What we do is we send them down to Earth, which should still be an irradiated hellhole where you will probably die. But
What the
Earth was
fuck?
fine, and then
Well,
Just-
now I'm glad I haven't watched that show.
Well, you also shouldn't watch it because they bury their gays, but like
Oh,
they
hate that.
really
we
do.
don't have to worry about that here, folks. Welcome to League of Amazing Adventure.
Where we can, if necessary, we can resurrect our gays.
Sometimes the gays get wish fulfillment, and that's just something entirely unrealistic. And that's how you know it's a role playing game.
You see, the trouble is I can't kill any of our NPCs because I think there's literally only has been one fully straight NPC in this game,
Disgusting.
and that was
Murder.
Drevrin,
That explains so much about Dreverin.
Yeah.
who Garl proceeded to launch to another continent.
That
I
was
think
not
that was
Garl's
very
fault.
slay of her.
Yeah, honestly, Dreverin picked that fight. That's on him.
Yeah.
He did
Trevor did.
Garl has never picked a fight in her life.
Okay.
Barl would never.
Garl would never. But yes,
Garl
my friends, the
resolves all
100th,
her problems with dialogue.
100th episode. We're a little bit loopy doopy. We are down in Abbey tonight. They're dealing with some stuff. They'll be back next week. So send them some love if you can
Yeah.
at Abby's World's a Stage. But just fair warning, chat, I cannot read you because I am doing this remotely. So the chat bubble on my screen is like this big. Other shows on the channel this week, we're just doing our tabletop RPG stream. So Friday, Calling Chronicle, or our 5e stream where we're doing our Genshin one-shot Shadows of Celestia.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. They're fighting Mona, a Mona who has been
not
possessed by a
acknowledge this.
delusion.
Disgusting.
Remember, our show is not canon to Genshin. It's just fun.
Yeah, I'm sure people were real confused about whether or not our tabletop
our-
game was canon to Genshin.
It's not canon. It's not
Thanks
canon.
for
It's-
clarifying that.
it's
I'm sure
important-
people were really confused.
It's important to say that because, like, what if in the future randomly they make a 4-star or a 5-star of one of your characters by accident? Then,
Yeah,
like,
sorry,
can't ju-
true.
we don't want to opal Genshin Impact. Then we have on Monday the Strength of Thousands AP. That should be back this week,
Mhm.
I hope. But that's all the shows this week, and then Tuesday we'll start doing the regular non-tabletop shows again. So Tuesday night I'll be doing something. Still haven't figured out what exactly I want to do on Tuesday night. Might do more Outward, might do something else. We'll find out together. Then Thursday we're off. Friday, of course, we have the Genshin shot for a bit, and then we'll be having our Spelljammer campaign, which I am continuing work on in this lovely cat book.
No, just a reminder. I still have to do the intro for that.
It's fine. You still have a couple weeks. And what else is there that's important? Saturday, we have Salt and Sorcery. Next week, Sunday, we have our Sim Sundays where I play Disney Dreamlight Valley. And yeah, those are all the shows on Tabletop Rolls. But now the more important thing, the reason why you're all here, the people that play in this show and have provided such amazing characters as Nimbus, played by McKenna, also the person who does all the artwork for the channel, minus Co and the 5E show, and also TikTok extraordinaire at McKenna Ray Art. They probably just posted a TikTok right before the show. You should check it out after
Or during the intro.
or during the intro.
Hi, that's me. Will has said everything I needed to say.
I
We love that.
apologize.
He is a word
Why?
thief.
Oh, and here's Merle, my sweet baby boy. We love this baby.
Back in the limelight.
Yes, there's Merle, who is still alive for now. Then we have Matt, who plays Garl.
Girl.
Where?
Hello,
Matt is responsible for the intros and the overlays, as well as my sanity.
Don't put that on me. I take no responsibility for that or lack of. I'm barely keeping myself sane, honestly.
And then we, of course, have Cooper, head of the Coop Troop, the Cult of Cooper, the Cooper Commune, the Cooper Coalition, the Cooper Concordance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Cooper Conclave.
the Cooper Conclave.
I'd like a conclave.
They're playing Lynx.
Hi.
The archaeologist, some might call him a Lynx to the past. I wish we were like a large enough show where there was a stat where there were like people keeping track of stats in this thing, just so I could hear how many times I've made that joke.
I can tell you that it's probably been every single episode.
Probably. But yeah, so those are all of our introductions. Hi, I'm Will. I'm less important than all of them. And tonight I'm going to roll the intro. Last time on the League of Amazing Adventurers, our party received a sending from Malachor, Nimbus's younger brother, who was quite distressed as their mother was in danger of becoming a new divine sigil. Deciding to put a stop to that, Nim ran back towards home with the help of the party and promptly went about going through their own home. Bless you, Nimbus.
Sorry.
Where Nimbus appeared in their room, their childhood bedroom. We got to see what that was like.
Mhm.
Then you went and you found your mother in the wine cellar.
Where else is a mother going to be?
Where else would a woman unhappy in her marriage be in a mansion? Nimbus told them off a little bit, very politely. And then they went to deal with her father, who they had summarized was probably possessed by a celestial. Deciding not to murder her own father and commit patricide, sad, they targeted the spirit on the inside instead. Nimbus casting a miracle spell in hopes to save her father's life. The miracle, well, successful, was only successful as it could be. And thusly, once their father was slain, the creature inhabiting them kind of ripped out and returned back to the celestial realm where they were from. However, her father's soul was taken with it and exiting their body, meaning that their father could not be revived until that was brought back. A door appeared above the body via a group of butterflies that had been swarming Nimbus after the miracle spell, and they went through where Nim had a short conversation with Desna, where Desna had basically said, hey, here's your miracle. There's only so much that we can do, those divine authorities, but I believe in you, Nimbus, and I'm so proud. And Nimbus getting the oh god, I forgot the word for it. Validation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nimbus getting validation from more validation in one sentence from a goddess than she probably got from her parents most of her life. Was very pleased at that.
Wow.
Validation is one of my favorite things.
Me.
And thusly, we pick up right where we left off, right there. You are all in this like celestial space, and there does appear to be like this like flickering wisp beside you. But you haven't really done anything with that yet. And that's where we left off. So
That's a special
would you
tool for
all-
later.
what would y'all like to do?
So I do have consult the spirits as a feat. Which does let me speak to spirits in the area, but it also, I feel like, by virtue of having it, may help identify what the little wisp next to us is, if it is indeed a spirit.
It is part of your father's soul.
Oh.
It's about a third of it.
Gotcha.
Hold on, let me open
Mecha-
the strategy guide to find all the pieces of McKenna's dad's soul.
Mechanically speaking, you figure that it could be used as a compass of sorts to find the other pieces.
All right.
However, if you want, you can make me a religion check.
All right. I'm legendary in this, so please. Roll 20, please.
Please roll
40?
20, please. A whopping 40, you say?
A whopping 40, I say.
A whopping 40, you say? That is a success.
Okay, good.
So Nimbus, you know that a lot of souls end up, especially when they have had, we'll say, less than virtuous lives and deaths,
Mm-hmm.
end up in a place called the Boneyard. It is Pharasma's realm. And sorry, I'm just trying to make it so that the Roll20 chat updates for chat.
Oh.
Because for some reason it's not doing that.
No, it is not.
Uh,
Yes.
Understanding that the Boneyard is kind of a final resting place for a lot of people, not necessarily the bad
Yes.
sorts, but just kind of the neutral sorts.
yes, well, and also usually like people who are devoted to a god would end up going to whatever that god's afterlife is, but unless that god just
Right.
says no. So,
Yeah.
oh, there we go. Okay, it's updated now. We're good. So that's where it ended up. And yeah, you do appear to be on. It's odd because it's like below your feet, like the stars themselves are almost like boards, and there's like this sort of like liquidy substance, like almost starry water below you. And as that's happening, Can everyone make me a perception check?
I am
Perception.
here, right?
Yes.
Yes, you were there.
Merle
Okay.
as well.
Your
Got a 37.
your icon is not on the map though.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little like.
Yes, don't worry. The map is just around. Yeah, 37
Oh.
from Merle.
Oh, nat 20. Thank you. Hi, Abby. Abby's in chat. Everyone give her a hello.
Hi, Abby.
Oh,
Nat
Hi,
20 from Garl.
mamas.
Oh,
Hi, Abby.
I see that little heart for Garl.
Wow,
Okay,
that's
so
gay.
Garl, Lynx, and Merle all hear this. Nim is just a little bit distant for you, so you won't hear it until the words actually start. But you hear a sort of bell ringing, like a bing, bing, and then just in the distance from where that bell is coming, you can see what appears to be a very long ship made from skeletal remains with
Ooh.
a single hooded figure at its back. Nim, it's at this point that you see and hear them as they're paddling towards you. They're humming a little bit of a tune to themselves. All aboard, Boneyard Express. Non-stop, just a short hop to the bottomless pit. This is it, Club Dead, straight ahead. And it's just going on, and eventually they repeat that over and over again, and eventually it comes to you all, and they basically take a stop there, and they just look to the boneyard. They smile, and you can see it's a skeleton just smiling at you.
How would a skeleton smile?
Like this.
But the smile is an ellipse.
Yes, but have you ever seen Jack Skellington smile?
That's not a good
That's
comparison. He's got a weird like flesh head sort of almost.
He's got some
Yeah.
weird bone skin.
Yeah.
I hate it here.
And
Does he have
and this
some weird bone
this guy
skin?
has some weird bone skin that's
Okay,
allowing him
gotcha.
to smile.
I hate it here.
Also, I imagine there's a festive tilt of the head to the side. Helps with the
Yes.
smile.
Jack, the Pumpkin King.
Okay.
Drum, drum.
I don't suppose I know if we are trying to go to the boneyard. You see, we're trying to collect the little fractured bits of this soul here. I don't know if the rest of it would have ended up in the boneyard or not.
It does appear to be pulsating, as if to like say yes towards that way. Like the compass part of it is working and pointing towards the boneyard.
All right. To the boneyard, I suppose.
Uh,
Maybe come aboard.
Of course. Please come aboard my vessel.
Quick question. Once we board, will we... Is there a return trip?
Important question.
I have stops at both sides, yes.
Okay.
I am a ferry. Not actually a ferry, but a ferry.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure we'd be able to get out.
No,
or-
you shall be trapped in the boneyard for eternity.
Slay.
Wah ha 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 ha. I apologize. Sarcasm is hard for me.
Ah, I understand. Sarcasm is hard for me too. Nim boards the ship.
The little flickering soul floats on beside you. Corellia runs about.
Oh,
Runs about onto the ship?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
I'm
Corellia's.
I'm picturing Cassandra just like, wow, like running in circles for no reason.
Cassandra's just T-posing to assert dominance.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
As she should.
Whenever someone misses a session, their character spends it T-posing to assert dominance. Canon.
I am here.
Lynx has T-posed the most.
Yes.
But yeah, so Nim's on, Corellia's on,
I suppose I shall hop on.
Lynx hops on. Garl?
Garl's going to flutter up on her ethereal wings.
As you land on the ship, the person basically pushing it and rowing it kind of looks up towards you and says, "Good to see you again, Garl."
Oh,
I'm gonna just make a policy from now on to stop questioning these things. I'm
I
just gonna
pretend
sit
it
here.
does not scare me.
This can't concern me because I can't understand language.
I can't read.
Actually, I'm more surprised you don't recognize this one, and I point at Cassandra.
Their spirit never made it to me. Strange.
Huh, fascinating. All right. Well, are we ready to set sail? Are there more people coming to board?
I usually wait about 5 minutes just in case.
In case what?
In case there are stragglers. And they like pull out this like bone pocket watch. They like open it. Excellent. They close it. And they begin pushing off. And they begin sailing back. And they actually have people on here. They're not kind of singing to themselves. They're just kind of like looking down at y'all, and they probably would attempt some small talk. How is the mortal world these days? I hear you're embroiled in a war. I've been ferrying many souls from the battlefield.
Oh. Well, I'm sorry for that. We've been doing our best to make your job as easy as possible and lessen your burden, but our methods are limited.
It is fine. I am nature. After all, I am inevitable. I understand.
I apologize. I've been terribly rude. I haven't asked your name yet.
I am simply a ferryman. One of many.
Well, I am simply a human, one of many, but I do still have a name.
My name is Ferryman.
All right, Ferryman, it's lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you as well, Nimbus. The weight of your soul is heavy, but perhaps you will find a way to lighten it when you go to the yard. Just kind of like looks about all of y'all. Yeah, it does. And if you want, you can make a religion check to identify this creature.
Yeah.
That's a success. That is a very good success. That's a critical success on this creature.
Slayfall.
This is a rare creature. It is called a ferryman. They are actually like the boat and the skeleton person. They're all like one. They're all like one creature. And they have a couple of interesting abilities. Mechanically speaking, they have a thing called soul sight, which lets them see souls and creatures with a soul. But more importantly, in like a more metaphysical, flavory sense, they can also see things that weigh down that soul and kind of identify maybe personal issues or hang-ups that the soul has from the material plane. And usually along their way, they try to offer some sort of counsel to those souls that they ferry. However, it can also be used defensively as a 2-action thing with a pretty high DC will save to cause a creature to become stunned by inward reflection.
Oh no, it's going to use a penance stare on us.
Yes.
Also, I'm a little concerned this is another setup to get Garl to go to therapy.
Yeah, honestly, me trapped in a cycle of self-reflection.
I mean, Garl, if the signs are pointing in that direction, perhaps.
I don't see any signs, Nim. We're in a weird sort of void thing with the bone man or woman. I don't want to assume.
The ferryman waves their hand, and like popping up from the side of the boat, pointing towards the way you're going, is just a sign that says boneyard. There's a sign right there.
This too is a sign.
Oh, I don't suppose you ran into a friend of mine. She was down here, would have been a few months ago?
Does time have meaning here?
That's a good question, actually, Carl.
Isn't it amazing?
Time flows oddly here. It usually flows towards the souls that are the strongest, and then things synchronize about around them.
Oh. Well, if you're talking about strong souls, then time definitely, I think, would have bent around Gwendolyn Buka.
Yes. As I was going to ferry her, she was interrupted and snatched away, unfortunately.
Who could have done that?
Unfortunately.
Yes, it is my job to ferry souls, and I was not able to do my job. It made me sad.
Oh. Hmm. Couldn't you look at it that perhaps you ferried her as far as she needed to go?
She never stepped on my boat.
Hmm.
Is that like an option if someone going, look over there, and you turn around and they run off in the opposite direction?
If they were to do that, they would wander about the material plane for eternity as a ghost until they eventually lost their minds and became mindless undead.
I never said it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Now you
But
know
it
what
is-
happens.
It is an option for those who, wish to do their own research on the matter. And they keep going.
Wow.
Eventually, you do come to like another dock. And the air around you now is very different. However, it is just gray soil, structures of bone, large necropoli, just absolutely bone spikes everywhere.
Oh my.
The boneyard.
The boneyard.
Please watch your step on the way out of the boat. The sea below you would be a terrible place to be headed.
Beheaded? They don't want to get beheaded. I thought it was funny.
Looking at the compass aspect of the little soul that is with us,
Mhm.
where is it pointing?
So there are a number of basically points that it's pointing to. You can see that it's strongest in about 3 directions, but you figure that on those paths there will be smaller bits of it to collect along the way.
Hmm.
So you have 3 paths ahead of you that you will need. You have 3 like large beacons that you'll need to get to, with smaller points along the way.
All right. Hmm. Shall we start on the far left, or perhaps the other side?
Might as well read left to right, right?
Makes sense to me.
All right then. As you begin down that path in the boneyard, can everyone make me a perception check?
Maybe. Oh,
Kinda.
1.
That's a treat.
Ooh.
49 for Merle.
I like the 49 from Merle. Merle will notice it. The DC is 45. Merle will notice it then. Basically, along the edges, at like the top of like these like hills, as you're walking through a valley, Merle notices like these skeletal figures with like oddly misshaped skeleton heads. Like they're like pointed and then points to the side, and then they just have like long skeletal claws for hands. It looks like these creatures are about to jump you all. And Merle probably starts to pipe up a little bit, like, Miss Nim, there's things that are going to jump you. They're undead, bony things. If you look
Oh.
at the top, over there, and Merle points them out to everyone.
Oh,
But yeah, as they're jumping down, they just get dissolved into bone dust.
Oh, dust.
bust, if you will.
They don't
Yes.
feel very good, Mr. Stark.
Oof.
I don't feel very good.
And walking towards you along the path that you were taking is a woman in a very nice black dress with a grayish sort of skin tone and long white hair.
Slay.
Can I recognize?
Yes, you would be able to recognize that as Pharasma.
Ah. Nim gives a respectful curtsy, though not one quite as deep as she would with her own goddess.
She basically is just walking up towards you all, and like she gets uncomfortably close to you, to the group. Like it looks like the premise of personal space just doesn't really matter. Like, well, the other gods like kept like a couple of feet between them and you. She's just like standing like right in front of you, just looking down on the entire group.
What lovely
Slay.
skin you have.
Another child seeking to take a soul from the boneyard.
Fairness, it was brought here unfairly, if that makes any sort
Or
of
at
sense.
least unusually.
It was. It is why I've offered you my protection while you're here.
Oh,
Hmm.
I'm
Thank
most
you.
gracious, thank you.
I owe Desna a favor. She just kind of smiles.
Oh. May I ask what for?
Some time ago, she helped a group of travelers find their way on my behalf.
Oh. She is good at that. Helping
She
travelers.
is. And she's a kind soul.
Yes. Well, thank you for the safe passage. I'm sure we'll need it.
Be wary. The boneyard is not a safe place for the living. She
No.
kind of continues walking and just fades off into a mist.
Does that happen a lot here? Like divine beings just kind of wandering around?
Well, this is her domain.
So she just like out for a walk then, I guess, because I would imagine she probably has like some sort of like god house. What do you call that?
God house.
Weekend at Pharasma's.
Let us not overstay our welcome. We should keep moving.
Agreed.
As you continue moving, you eventually come to what appears to be a large sort of bone platform, in the center of which you see a soul just kind of floating there, the compass pulsating with a light glow towards it.
Do we do a perception check in the area to make sure there's no, I don't know, bone traps?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Hate it here.
Well, it is the afterlife. Yeah, you living things wouldn't like it here. Oh, that's not a good percent. A 5.
Oof.
There are no bone traps that Garl can see.
Well, now is the boat going by the soul? Like, will we have to disembark briefly to grab it? I don't
You're
know.
off the boat.
We're
You've
on
been walking.
foot.
Okay.
Yeah, you're walking through the boneyard.
Sorry, I was lulled into a nice serene sense of being on the boat.
Oof. Lynx also does not see.
There are no bone traps.
Well, then I shall approach the wayward soul.
It's just floating there. Garl, as you approach it, it begins to light up a little bit more. Nimbus,
Yeah.
the small soul shard that you have with you, begins to pull itself towards the soul that is suspended in the air there. What do you do?
I'd like to call out to the part of the soul that is floating and see if I can't communicate with it.
Yeah. What do you say?
Hello. We've come to collect. Oh, it's a bit vague.
It kind of like turns its head towards you, and then it sees the shard and it begins to float towards it, and the shard begins to float towards it. And then just as they grab hands, there's a blinding light. And you all go blind for a moment. Like it's just like white light. And then as like the vision around you is coming back, you're not in the boneyard anymore. You are in a actually surprisingly familiar place, albeit a little bit less militaristic. It is the Treladarian Magic School that you all encountered. But you are in its hallways as if many years ago. And you see a number of people walking through the hallways. You see some folks sitting down in like a corner on like one of those windowsills. One of them is reading a book. Some of them have like this like ball that they're using magic to fling around, and basically like a basketball except with magic. And then there's just like a couple of folks like using evocation magic to like light small death sticks.
Oh, death sticks.
Yeah.
Those things will
but
kill you.
It does appear as though you are in some sort of representation of the past. Nimbus. It's at that moment that you see basically walking, coming from beside you, a much younger version of your father, probably about 16 years old.
Oh.
Who has like a big old book bag attached to their hip. And you can tell it is first day sort of jitters.
Oh.
And they're just kind of like walking down this hallway, and they're like kind of looking about. And Nimbus, let me ask you a question. How much about your father? How much do you think your father has told Nimbus about their childhood?
Oh God, childhood? Probably
Yeah.
not a lot. Past accomplishments probably mentioned.
Okay.
Perhaps like a like cautionary tale here and there. But I think anything that would have painted him in like a particularly bad or naive or embarrassing light probably would not have been shared.
Then let me ask you something, Nimbus. How does Nimbus imagine her father would have looked when they were like a 16-year-old?
Oh, jeez.
I'm curious about this because I want to see how much like the image that you're going to see is different or similar to what Nimbus thought.
Honestly, I don't know if Nimbus has spent that much time picturing her father as a young man. I think it's kind of one of those situations where like that's almost an alien concept to her because he's always been father and he's always been like a very grown stoic person. So I think if someone were to have posed that question to her and really asked her to think about it, she'd have to say that he would have been maybe a little bit stoic in his youth as well. Perhaps not a loner, but probably not outgoing or bubbly. He probably would have been a little bit more on the reserved side and probably more focused on studies and like academic excellence than socializing.
All right. So you see your father. And they, compared to everyone else, are dressed noticeably less extravagantly, like less expensive. They're in like less expensive looking clothes. It looks like things like maybe don't fit as well, like they might be hand-me-downs. And you see a look on your face, on their faces. They're like walking down those halls and like seeing like all this magic all around them. That is could only be described as the same look that Nimbus had on her face when she met Merle.
Oh.
Like it is just like wide-eyed joy and amazement.
Oh.
It's like they've worked so hard to get here. And as they're like walking down the halls, they have like their book bag. They like push it up a little bit towards themselves, and they like almost like carry it in front of themselves a little bit so that like they don't like hit someone while they're walking with it. And they begin to walk down this hallway, and then these two elves just kind of like step into his way, and one of them just takes his like foot and like kicks the bag out of his hands.
Oh.
That's not very slurve.
No, it is not.
And sends like all the book bag onto the ground, and its contents open up and like fly into the thing, and like everyone looks their way, and like the two elves are just standing there kind of sneering at him. Backwater scholarship student, you don't belong here. Yes, you don't have the pedigree to practice magic at such an esteemed institution. And a couple other kids now begin kind of like laughing at him. And after like a few moments of this, Garl, you feel someone like pushing past you, and it appears to be a very well-dressed man who kind of just like steps in front of your father, Nimbus, and just like stares these two elves down. And like they're probably the same age, like your father and this person, but the elves are very much like older students at this school. Just kind of looks up and says, "And what do you two know about pedigree?"
Ooh.
Slay.
You're just a couple of elves.
That's somehow worse.
Oh, we're racist.
What? Do you just hold yourself in a higher regard because of that? Is that a thing that you do? No, come on. This is a learning institution. Learn
Me
to
at
not
the
be
learning
such
institution.
pricks. And he kind of just like, and like one of them goes to like raise a wand up, and then you just see this guy whip out another one and just like kind of flicks their wrist, and like this like ball of light just disarms them. It's like a small like scorching ray. And they just kind of like look at him and they just like huff and like, this isn't worth it, and they head off. And then they just kind of like turn back towards their father and say, I'm sorry about that. Here, let me help you. And your father's just like, thank you. I was a little bit nervous on having to deal with that. Thank you for the help. And he just like looks up and he says, oh, it's Samuel. A pleasure to meet you. And he holds out his hand. And then that blinding light returns. And you are now in what appears to be a classroom. There is a very old sort of scholarly figure standing up at the front of the class, and like on the back of the blackboard says test results announced today. And he's just standing there and he looks up. Now, everyone, the first midterm grades have finally been finished off, and I am very impressed with your class's marks. However, two of you managed to score 100%. And I feel as though that deserves a reward. So if our two perfect scorers could please come up to the front of the class, and Nimbus, your father, stands up, as does Samuel. And they walk down, and they're just now standing one on either side. Now, both of them scored 100%, making them the top students in your year currently. And like there's some light applause, and immediately upon them kind of like pointing towards your father to come and like receive the reward, everyone just goes silent. Nim, you can all make perception checks if you'd like.
Perception check.
Wow, I'm not perceiving a damn thing tonight.
You got a nat 20.
That was not me. Oh wait, yes it was.
Was.
Hello?
Literally, Cooper, Link.
Who else is
Hi.
scrolling on
Perception.
Lynx's thing?
I'm perceiving like so much.
You crit failed your perception check, but Link's got a nat 20.
I really saw that
That's a good
36
point.
and was like, oh, that's me again, I guess. Oh well.
No, it was
Lynx, you and Nimbus, as well as Garl, all see basically in like the back right hand side of the class, just the smallest bit of applause coming from two women that you would recognize as a young Rosemine and your mother.
Slay.
Aw.
And so that your father is given this like very nice looking wand as a reward, and then when Samuel's given their wand, the entire class kind of like erupts in applause.
Say a slur.
Rude little bitches.
They return to their seats. Your father sits basically in between your mother and Rosemine.
Aw.
And the two of them just kind of like are like, oh, hey, congratulations. Yes, that was an excellent showing. You nearly had me. If it wasn't for the essay question, I would have caught you, Rosemine says. It looks like they have like this sort of like competitive thing going on. And then you just see Samuel, who has gone back and is sitting like towards the top of the class about 2 desks over. He's just surrounded by people, but he doesn't like, you can notice the fact, like, you, Nim, you've gotten pretty good at reading people. He's there, but he's not there. Like, he's not interested in any of the conversation. He's not interested in any of those accolades. He's like, you people are just people. Go away. I have studying to do. And then that light happens again, and you see a library, a private room in the library that's been marked reserved. And through the window of that library, you see your father, Samuel, Rosemine, your mother, and each of the other archmages kind of all sitting in that room in some sort of study group. Your father is currently standing up. He's like at the board, basically like explaining some sort of magical premise, specifically towards like divination magic, evocation, and such and such. And it's like, yes, so these spells can be used like so. And yeah, you see that basically study group kind of being there. And then you see coming into the library, one of the other students from the classroom that you saw in the earlier vision, except they look exceedingly angry. And their eyes have been completely covered over by black. Like, they're just solid dark eyes. They see the window and they raise a wand to it, and a hydraulic push is shot directly towards your father, hitting him, sending him flying into a wall. The rest of the crew in the room reacts to this, and the person in that library begins to shift and change their form almost involuntarily, like their skin bubbles, and then they like grow horns and they get all demony. And then there's hissing, and as like the crew of kids basically send out like this like massive set of spells that creates almost a blinding light, the scene changes once again. And now you see that you're in a room with these students and a number of the faculty as they're telling them what's going on. And then you just hear Samuel say, more and more mages are turning to demonic creatures for power. We must do something about this. And then your father says, yes, I've seen what fallen mages can do firsthand, and it's important that they be stopped. And then the visions stop. And now there's only one soul bit, but it's a little bit more complete.
What does it look like?
So before, when it was like like a third of your father's torso, no arms, and then like the head, now there's arms.
Hmm. Interesting.
It's just kind of floating there. And it comes and floats back next to you, Nimbus.
Are you ready to move on to the next one?
It glows.
All right. Let's go then.
You all continue walking. And it's a short trip through the boneyard to the next one. On a similar dais is a similar soul. And it reaches out to its partner, its other half. And as it does, that blinding light returns. And now you see a familiar face. As standing in front of the archmages is Garl, which with much less crystalline.
Much less. There's
Yes,
still
much
some?
less. Still some, but much less. Like they haven't grown nearly as much.
Wow.
Probably a
And
lot
yeah,
less scars too.
Garl is just kind of like standing there, and then you hear them say, "All right, the two of you are next," and they point towards Samuel and your father, and then the two of them come up and basically begin fighting with Garl in like a sparring situation. And it's a very even fight. Garl is using what appears to be a sword that is made out of a strange, almost oscillating metal to block spells and counteract them.
We gotta find that sword.
I wonder if I could beat myself for the sword.
An option.
And the two of them work really well together. Your father is providing support and appears to be basically using divination to predict some of Garl's attacks. While Samuel is taking on like a more offensive route. And like the two of them are kind of a dynamic duo. Like together, they are incredibly strong. And eventually they push Garl into a corner. And as it looks like they're about to defeat Garl, Garl just puts the sword into the ground. And you see crystals as a number of magic missiles are coming towards Garl. You see crystals form around Garl's hands. They basically block the spell with the crystals. And then you see those crystals light up and explode, and they go flying back towards your father and Samuel, pushing them back.
Huh.
Slayful.
Figure out how to teach you how to do that again, Garl.
That'd be pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to know how to do that.
The two of you, Garl says, work well together, but I do wish that you would allow your classmates to do more work, Samuel. And that kind of disappears again, and we move on to like the next vision, which appears to be on a very large battlefield. And Samuel is flying off at this point. But your father remains there, and as you look as to where your father is standing, you see a Garl impaled with a massive flesh wound through their chest.
Oh, this is the point where I died.
And then
This is the part. What?
Nimbus, your father kind of like is panicking a little bit. One of the other people there who you haven't met yet, but can assume is the Archmage of Conjuration, is there as well. And you see them basically, your father is like looking around. He pulls out this like the completely mundane looking dorm room-esque key. And he hands it to the Conjuration Wizard, and the Conjuration Wizard does some work on it with the help of the enchantment archmage of the time, and the key turns into a key very similar to the one that you used to get around Treladar.
Oh, interesting.
They then use it except instead of it forming like being a door, they just use it in the air and it forms a door. They carry Garl through it, and they put Garl into what appears to be a tube of some sorts. And as that tube is filling up with liquid, you see Garl kind of like becoming a little bit suspended, and the wound starting to very slowly stitch itself back together, but the crystals on Garl begin growing a little bit more as well.
Ooh, interesting.
And then the light fades again, and you find yourselves once again on a battlefield, except now all of the students that you've seen, the mages, Rosaline, your mother, your father, Samuel, the Archmage of Necromancy, the Archmage of, like, everyone is there, and they appear to be running basically towards a massive demon, a demon that is the size of a castle, that is just bearing down its hands in the ground. It looks like it's just firing magic into the air and just shooting at every single thing, absolutely decimating the city around it. And it sends one of those beams, and it just pushes the entire party back, as well as like damaging them heavily. And then you see Samuel kind of stepping forward. It's like, there's a way we can solve this, but I apologize for what it brings. And then you see Samuel's eyes light up. You hear the words, "I offer myself so I may light the way." And just an immense amount of divine energy rushes through him. And the battle changes tides. You see Samuel, with the help of the other archmages, but mainly Samuel at this point, taking like this spear of light and forming it of all the ambient magic and just firing it through the demon, and the demon dissolving. And then that light fades, and there are cheers erupting. You see that group of students happy at their success. You see a number of people who are fighting smaller demons all around them, all cheering as they all evaporate, disappear. And then you see your father walk towards Samuel, and as Samuel is standing there, he goes to quickly turn away, but your father notices just like the slightest amount of light in his eyes still, like a slight glow. And there's pause, and then the vision stops. Oh. Now, they are a basically body, but they don't have like from the knees down. Still kind of floating. Had no facial features or anything, just there.
You probably don't recognize me yet, do you?
The light's just, the soul continues to be a light, like with a warm glow.
Okay. I believe that's 2 down, 1 more to go. Hopefully.
You make your way down the final path. Standing there, waiting for you, as if waiting to give you some form of support or to be an ear to listen to, is what appears to be Desna.
Oh.
She looks towards you, Nimbus, and she says, I can imagine that this may be a troubling experience for you, Nimbus. I am here for you. I can block this final vision if you would like, as I know it may cause you great pain.
No, I mean, thank you. I mean, Nim curtsies deeply.
She audibly chuckles at that. Nimbus, you really don't have to do that anymore.
It feels rather strange to not to. Sorry.
That's fine. Whatever makes you feel most comfortable. But I want you to know that we've reached the stage in our relationship where that is no longer necessary in my eyes.
Nimbus Evangelina Multiessing Altair, your relationship with Desna.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. But if it's all the same to you, I think I'd like to know. The thing about, and I'm sure you know this. I'm sure I don't need to explain it to you because you know everything, and everything about me is that the way my mind works is that quite possibly whatever is in that memory is not worse than what my imagination has cooked up in place of it. And to be entirely honest, I just want to get this over with. I understand that this is an indulgence and there is a war to win and people's lives are at stake and I don't have time to be I'm ready.
She waves her hand and the soul begins to float towards you. It joins with the soul that you'd been carrying, and there is a familiar flash of light. Now you appear to be in a physician's office. Your mother and father sitting there together. The physician delivering some bad news. That the two of them together may be unable to have a child. Naturally. And then after a moment, you see just a spark of light behind that physician's eyes. However, there may be another way.
Famous last words.
And then you see your parents like listening to this. And the next thing we see is your mother and father basically lying beside each other in a bed. And your father like reaches over and hands your mother some like what appears to be like a medicine of some sort, and she drinks it. And then we like go to like the main room of this like small home, and where there's a calendar beside the door exit, and then the light blinds again, and we start on the calendar on that next shot where it's been 9 months. And you see your mother and father coming back into the door with a very baby Nimbus in their hands.
Very baby Nimbus.
Yes, like newborn Nimbus. And as Nimbus is put into bed, into like a crib for the evening, Nimbus is a very well-behaved baby. It's like they're already bedtime trained, like absolutely like not the baby experience that a person would normally have. As your mother and father are sleeping that night, Nimbus, your father has a vision. And because of the nature of this sort of methodology, you're treated to this vision. You are treated to what appears to be a wave of light washing over the world, burning apart absolutely everything that is not perfectly pure. But then that vision is frozen in time, and standing before it is what appears to be a young woman with sort of like long hair that's curled together, as well as a number of other figures that are unsort of matchable. Like they can't be recognized. He doesn't know who any of these people are, but he sees them pushing back that light and stopping the world from being engulfed.
Do I recognize these silhouettes?
Yes, it's you and the party.
Yes, that's us, girly pop.
Yes.
Slayful.
You can recognize them easily enough.
The slayage.
Yeah. Then you see basically the first day in Lutania. And how excited your mother is for Nimbus to basically be taken out and brought to high society and starting like your training and going to school, and she's so excited for that. And you just see your father panicking.
Oh.
Like he's like, "Oh, but my sweet baby."
Me.
And you just see him like basically like pacing up and down with your mom being like up and down like the top floor of the house, and your mother kind of yelling towards him, "Dear, she's going to be late if we don't go soon." And he just kind of like runs down the stairs and grabs you by the shoulders and says, "I love you. I know you're going to be amazing." He just like gives baby like young child Nimbus like a kiss on the forehead.
Oh.
And then we watch Nim grow up from the eyes of her father. And there is just this constant feeling of joy and proud. But it's there, but it's like I can't. Every time like he goes to like show like a little bit of affection, that vision returns, and like that image of Nimbus of the light starts to swallow her a little bit more each time. And you basically see him becoming more distant, like more reserved with her. And as that happens, the visions start showing her standing firmly against the light again.
Oh.
But yeah, so you're just basically watch that. And then we come to, well, events in the campaign. A number of mages from Treladar open the door to the mansion, and they kind of like bow their heads and they say, "Lord Archmage, Treladar's plans begin now that Magdia has pursued their courses of action. We need to perform the ritual. We must find out if she has returned. And if she has, then we will need to take precautions." And then you see that night the ritual that Nimbus was helping with. And you see Nimbus kind of subtly trying to sabotage the ritual a little bit. And you see your
So
father
he noticed that?
and you see your father noticing it
Mm.
and actively covering it up. And then also sabotaging the ritual a little bit.
Oh, Papa.
Interesting.
And then you see him receiving a vision of Corellia. And then and then there's the whole spiel like, hey, sometimes these things are like this. It probably means that everything is fine and we don't need to worry. And then they head off and give him a sack of gold. And when he said, "Good job with that ritual, Nimbus," he meant it. It was more of like a, hey, good job trying to sabotage that. That was the good move.
Love.
And then after that, when you left, you see him go towards his desk. He opens up a drawer in it and he pulls out the key from earlier.
Huh.
He then pops it into the air. The door forms. He walks through, and there you see a fully healed Garl. He walks over to the tube. He pushes a few buttons. The tube begins to drain. Garl steps out of it, and you see your father quickly break a crystal
Oof.
off of the back of Garl's neck, just as Garl's like starting to wake up, and then you see them running basically back to the door.
What became
Garl
that
or my
crystal?
dad?
Your dad. So they broke a crystal off of Garl's neck and then ran back into the thing. Nim, you would recognize that as the memory crystal.
Okay. I'm a little confused.
Have I just been the victim of organ theft?
Does
Maybe.
Garl not remember this?
No,
Oof.
because
Is she-
Garl
is
wasn't.
she still not
Garl.
conscious?
Garl's not conscious at this point.
Okay.
Garl would have then woken up, and then that's when Garl started wandering the Magiscard wastes.
So to clarify, Will, though Garl was in a tube of healing juices,
Yes.
was she naked to better absorb the healing?
No,
Juice?
Why are
Garl
you
was-
asking,
Garl was
Matthew?
placed-
It's not
Juice?
weird.
Garl-
It's my character.
Garl was placed in medical robes,
Oh,
Oh,
so
no,
her
I'm just
butt's out.
which, to give Matt a good sort of descriptor, the base gear for the Elden Ring that starts with the club only, and those like rags that just cover them enough.
I knew that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
I could feel it in my bones.
So scary medieval homeless person.
Yes,
God, if only. That's how I'm
But
trying to
scantily
be.
clad. We do this for you, Abby.
we do this for you, Abby. But the light disappears, and you see your father basically sitting alone in a room, almost talking to himself as he appears to be working on something. It's like, okay, I've released Garl. Oh dear, hopefully this can help Nimbus. And then you see them basically take a concoction of their own making, and then they begin to like fade and they fall asleep at their desk. And then you get to see another vision, now with Garl standing beside Nim and the rest of the party. And then after about 30
Oh.
minutes, your father wakes up. It's like, good. Okay, if I can't help her directly, I'll do my best.
Oh my goodness. Just...
Because every time he tried to help you, the light swallowed you up in their vision. So he's been
Ugh.
this is just like, if prophecy sucks.
Yeah.
Me too.
And yeah, he continues to basically, you see the events unfold. You see him watching the final day of the tournament privately, and as your team wins, he just like lets it know, yes.
Where was he watching it that he was able to see that he was able to know that it was me?
He was watching in his office. Like he had like a crystal in his office that he had up for it.
Yeah, but he shouldn't have known that I was up to anything until Alessandra went and yoinked the mask. But even then, Gwen blocked that from the upper areas. So what was the what tipped him off?
Do, having requested that moment, you can ask him that when he's fully here. But you see that happen. Then you see the flash towards like Magdia's advancing and like war going on, and you see your father basically doing a lot of like work and preparation. He appears to be funneling like a lot of money from the business towards the League and the Latania Conservatory of Venture and Arts. This will be needed for the rebuild, and I can have it disguised as this in our books. Then you also see them talking to who would have been your landlord.
Ah.
And he says, "Here, take care of this for her." He basically gets that set up, and then you see him responding to a letter from Rosemine, talking about how Samuel has become more zealot in his beliefs about Treladar's stance in the world and how they are going to be moving forward with their plans soon. And then you hear your father kind of just mutter, I guess it's time to return home. And then, well, you see your father and mother packing up the mansion. And you see your mother hugging you and your father just kind of like sending you off. And there is just this feeling of regret. And then you are gone. And they have returned to Treladar. And you see this area where a city is slowly being built over older buildings, except for one older building, which appears to be being converted into perhaps a wine cellar of sorts, as it's the site of the mansion being built around it. And your father just stands there, is like, I do hope that my home can be part of home regardless. Seeing this like old shack now becoming like the basement of this huge mansion.
Oh.
And then you see your father going into a room to meet with the Archmage as an official ceremony. And this is where you see Samuel for the first time as an older gentleman. And things begin cordial enough. My friend, it's been so long since I've seen you. I trust you and your wife are well. I hear you've been leading quite the good life in Lutania. You are truly a treasure of Treladars that went abroad. He smiles. Thank you, Samuel. I appreciate the chance to return to duty here in Treladar. I've been hoping that I can make my home a better place, as you know. Yes, I do know. But I also know that you are too talented for your own good, friend. And thusly, I need to ensure that you will be on side when things matter, one way or another. And he smiles, and then your father like starts to back up a little bit. Samuel, you don't have to do this. I'm a friend, I'm loyal to you. It's like, I know, but you can always be more loyal. And he just like reaches his hand up, and you see these tendrils of light reaching towards your father. And then the memories go away. And the soul has been returned to its form. Your father in like this sort of astral form now, Nimbus, stands beside you. And he is looking at you. Fully clothed.
Nice.
Oh, thank God. Thank you for clarifying. Nimbus is crying.
He goes to like hug you, but it just like goes through your body. And he's just like, fuck.
Did you just swear?
No, he didn't say anything. Like he you like see him mouth it, but there's no sound that comes out. And then he's just standing there. He tries saying some other things, but it's just like no sound. Desmond's just like, he won't be able to speak until he's returned to his body.
Oh, I can read lips just fine. Did you just say fuck?
I said
I'm-
nothing of the sort, Nimbus. I am much too refined for that type of language.
Liar. Liar, liar.
Is this the kind of conversation that needs to happen to prolong our time in the literal, possibly afterlife? Could we not maybe have it when we're, back on solid ground again?
Carl,
Maybe.
I'm a little bit overwhelmed at the moment. I'm sorry if my priorities are a little out of whack.
I could carry you if it makes it easier.
Desmond
No.
just like reaches down towards you, Nimbus, and gives you a hug.
Oh.
Oh, thank you.
It's like, I see that he cannot do this right now, so
Oh.
and then she lets go and just kind of says, I believe that you can take things from here, Nimbus. And she disappears in a swarm of butterflies.
Thank you. I am glad I saw what I saw. I look at my dad and I say, you know that I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. Unless you can give me a really, really good reason. Oh, we should. I'm tired of the boneyard. We need to go.
He's just standing there. He just points to himself.
No. Samuel Valenfell is going down.
Just kind of nods like, yes, I understand that.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to punching him in the face repeatedly.
Mm.
Your father
I
like
didn't know
just
that, actually.
looks towards Garl and just kind of like waves and like bows their head a little bit, like, good to see you again.
Very weird for me, but I'm going to wave back.
I should start walking. Hopefully
Kind
we
of
won't
nods.
need too much of a resurrection since you weren't technically the one who was killed.
It's just like this, like thumbs up.
As we walk, can I just say, did you really just leave Garl out in the wastes?
Yeah, you see your father like go to start like mouthing things, and he's just like, "Can we have this discussion when I can actually speak and I have tone to my voice instead of just reading my lips, Nimbus?"
Okay,
Just
fine,
use
please.
emoticons.
yeah, can't you use emojis when you read lips?
It helps convey tone.
Just goes like,
Jesus, me.
All right, well, float a little faster, please.
"Oh, he's just walking at pace with all of y'all."
In the Jetson sound. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Eventually, you come to the docks again.
Ferryman?
And the boat comes coming back, and there's that ringing of the bell. "All aboard! Boneyard Express! Last bell for the other hell! The material plane!" And then there's like another bell ring. "Where you're cursed at birth, where hearts are heavy and heads are bowed, and each silver lining conceals a cloud, where men are men and sheep are nervous. At your service." And he just kind of like bends down and like bows and like lets you onto the ship.
Sheep do be getting nervous.
What did you say the material plane was the other hell?
Yes, it's sort of a funny joke along the ferryman.
Is it?
Not
Yes,
funny,
I-
haha.
Funny, depressing. sort of dark humor, I suppose, would be the best way to call it. But when you're an undead creature, what other type of humor is there?
Puns, perhaps?
Oh no, we lost those with our humors.
Oh.
I hate that.
Isn't that a pun, though?
Only a,
I hated that a
was-
lot.
That
Is it
was the
only a-
joke.
is it only a pun if it's intentional?
Deadpan.
That was the joke, Nimbus.
But my lord,
But yeah, they begin ferrying you back towards the other side, the door awaiting you. And stepping into the door, you all make it back into your father's office, where after about half a minute, your father starts to wake up a little bit. And he's just like lying on the ground, like, "Garl, if you could step off my robe, that would be very helpful."
Take a step back. Little shuffle step.
And he just like kind of like sits himself up slowly, and as dignified as possible as a person who just died and has now been resurrected, it kind of tries to like get standing. You just see him kind of like holding onto his desk for support.
I give him a little help by just kind of grabbing him by the scruff and just holding him up a little bit.
Oh, that I deserve that. My failings are deserving of such.
Don't worry, there's plenty of that going around.
And our legacies are not our failures? You said something like that once. I don't know if you remember.
I do. I remember lots of things that, quite frankly, Nimbus, do not make me feel particularly good about myself currently.
No, I imagine not. How much exactly do you remember?
Well, I remember a particularly candid remark from your mother.
That being.
What's another 20 years, I believe?
Oh, she told you about that.
I was in the room when that happened.
Yes, that was not my favorite interaction with her.
No,
Um,
I can imagine.
And especially because as much as I told myself that perhaps you were both playing both sides, she really seemed to mean that one. Speaking of which, and I just kind of step aside so that he has a clear view of Malachor, who is presumably still sitting on the floor.
Yes, Malachor has just been sitting there. And he's just like, I should have. Fuck. Malachor, stand.
You said it again!
Yes, I did. Nimbus, stop. I don't. Oh my god. What? Okay, just
You can't stop now!
You
One
said the fuck
moment.
word.
what? I have been so reserved for so many years. I am thankful that you did not get to see all of my school days. Rosemind is a terrible influence.
Oh yes, it was Rosemine's fault. I am sure.
Now, if you excuse me, there is one small thing I need to do. And he just walks behind his desk and just bends over, and you just hear him retching.
Oh.
Oh. I prestidigitate.
Nimbus, I can prestidigitate myself.
You're tired. I don't mind.
You know how demeaning it is to prestidigitate another magic user?
I don't find it demeaning.
Fair enough. And he just kind of stands up. I need to go speak with your mother.
You should speak with Malachor first.
Malachor! Father? I do not have the words to say to you right now. What needs to be said? We need to have a long discussion. There are chats that I should have had with you that I didn't get to have with you. And we need to talk about whether or not you want those chats or whether or not you want to live that part of your life actually, or what we want to do or what you want to do. Because you are a autonomous human being who unfortunately had a great deal of trauma pushed upon you by forces that were out of your control. And thusly, we need to do something about that. And there are options, but it'll be a very long discussion. And quite frankly, I am afraid to have it with you.
Those are an awful lot of words, and none of them were "I'm sorry." May I suggest
Okay, Nim,
you start
slay.
there?
Malachor just kind of stands up. It's like, oh, okay, I think that's the most you've ever spoken to me. Yes, Malachor, I apologize for that. As I said, that's just an excuse. I apologize, Malachor. Words cannot begin to satiate the apology that's required, but perhaps actions can. And you see him basically standing up. All right. Grabs Malachor by the hand. Go on. Let's go see your mother. By the way, Nimbus, your father doesn't hold people's hands normally. This is
No,
really
he
weird.
does not.
This is
It's-
really fucking weird.
It's like Nim kind of watches him for a second and is like,
Huh.
and follows him, like kind of realizes that they are walking away and, trots a little bit to keep up.
And he just kind of like turns his head towards you, Nimbus, and he says, Nimbus, if you'd be so kind as to join us, but perhaps we could have your friends wait in the sitting room.
Um, I suppose if that is all right with them.
I just work here.
No, no, no. Matilda and Jeffrey work here. Gunther works here. You are a guest.
It's
He
always
just-
fun getting
upon
to
the
mess with you,
mention of-
Nimbus.
Upon the mention of Gunther's name, your father just goes pale white.
Speaking of people you owe an apology to.
I definitely owe an apology to Gunther.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Where is he?
Currently, I believe he is still in Lutania.
No.
No.
No. Unless he returned.
Then
after
I do not know.
Lily.
He never returned to us.
He did though. He was with Mother and Malachor when they went to the party that our host threw for us.
You see your father like going like as if trying to remember something, and Malachor just kind of speaks up. Father, you never talked to Gunther when he was here. It was only Mother and me that they spoke to.
Oh.
That would be why. Probably for the best.
Probably.
But yeah. Just kind of looks towards you, Garl. Garl, I also should apologize to you at some point, but prophecies are quite honestly, prophecies can sometimes be as much of a curse as they are a blessing.
I forgive you. Mostly because I don't remember a lot of what has happened, and I sort of considered another life entirely. So, hello, nice to, I guess, meet you, sort of.
Nice to meet you as well.
This is Cassandra. She's very important to me, as is your daughter, though in a different way. And
He's
his niece as
just
well.
Eyebrows.
There's just like this like frozen look on his face.
Garl's surprise harem.
And he's just like,
Kiss, kiss, fall in love.
no, like it's like oh, Nimbus's father.exe is rebooting.
Yeah.
It's like a Tell me, Gar, have you had any sort of like official date with that one? He points towards Corellia.
Garl immediately starts getting red as a beet.
Oh, well, perhaps after the battle, I can send you out on one on my dime.
But a dime is very small.
You can, Carl, that means that you can get really, really expensive alcohol. The good stuff.
Stuff.
Could I get Cassandra a really nice dress?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, Scott. Well, actually, why don't you start speaking with the with our staff about that? Whilst Nimbus and I go and deal with some family matters.
I need to think about it.
As they're walking away with you, Nimbus, your father just kind of like holds out his hand towards you to like offer the same thing for Malachor.
I take it, but then I turn back around and say, Cassandra, the library. We have one, and you wanted to see it. Third floor, third door on the left. And then I go.
Cassandra runs. As you two are walking, your father just kind of looks down and says, out of curiosity, Nimbus, how much between me and your mother of our use have you seen? Did you see our first date?
I did actually.
Oh, good.
Why?
He just kind of smiles at you. Well, Garu's going on a first date, and he begins walking down the hall.
You wouldn't dare.
Just kind of smiles.
Oh, let her have something nice for once. Goodness gracious.
It's like, I'm simply returning a 50-year-old favor.
She is well into her, what, 80s now? If you count the time frozen? And Cassandra is. I mean, truly, we've lost count. I don't think they need a chaperone.
You just see your father deflate a little bit. Like, oh, I was really looking forward to this sort of little goof. Oh well.
Well, I'm sure you can play some pranks, but let's.
I was very much looking forward to it. Do you know how much well, you may not know. Do you know how much, and Maliko, please cover your ears for this. And Maliko just kind of looks, I'm an adult. It's like, yes, yes, you are. Never mind that. And do you know how much shit your mother and I had when we were dating from our friend group?
I'm sorry, it's so jarring.
I have not been able to swear in front of you for how many years, Nimbus? This
20.
is this is how I speak when I'm more relaxed with people.
Me.
Anyway,
I'm so jarred I forgot your initial question. Also, Mother was in the wine cellar. She's been doing a lot of that lately.
I've noticed. Unfortunately, I retain my memories from the time whilst I was possessed, and there's just like this, like incredibly like he sounds bitter about this.
Yeah, I
Like,
would be too.
You've seen your father mad, you've never seen your father look like the way Nim looks at Ray, but that's what he's looking like.
Loathing, unadulterated loathing.
Person clothing.
Can I tell what that loathing is directed at? Himself or Samuel, or both?
Both.
Oh.
And like as you're continuing to walk, he does make the comment. You did say you were planning on killing Samuel, didn't you?
Yes. Although, caveat. I would like to corroborate his own status in terms of how in control of himself he is.
I don't know. That is my problem. I've had my suspicions, but never had any proof. And when I found a little bit of proof, as you probably saw, it was too late.
Right. Because as livid as I am, and I want him to pay for what he's done, there's a part of me that finds it just a smidge hypocritical that I can sit here and do all of this work to make sure that you are okay, and then go, oh, well, Samuel's a lost cause and a villain and a monster, and
he wasn't a monster until recently. This is the thing that's amazing me is, and you may have noticed this whilst you were reliving my life somewhat, but he changed.
Yes.
And I think that I know when he changed.
Yes, it was at that battle. He invited something.
He invited something into himself, a celestial, I would imagine. So he'd received some help from some before. And based on his set, it was not a very benevolent one.
No. I don't want to punish him for being tricked by the same thing that is causing so much harm and havoc to all of us, but if he did this willingly to himself...
I see no way forward where he remains alive currently. And that is fine.
Well, Mother said the same thing about you not 20 minutes ago.
And I deserved that at the time as well. If you had left me dead, I would have understood Nimbus.
I want to be very clear that at no point in the last 2 years is that something that I wanted.
You just feel him squeeze your hand like the slightest bit tighter. Probably the closest thing to a hug you've gotten in a long time.
At least from him.
Yep. And yeah, walking down into the cellar, you see your mother standing up, and she sees him holding yours in Malicor's hand. She just walks up to him and smacks him. Just
slay. Okay,
right
queen.
across the face, like straight up, like whack. And you see your father, he sees it coming, he stands there, he's like, I deserve this. Smack.
Good for her. She slayed.
How dare you? And how dare you? How dare you do this to us? I understand. This is my fault. I'm going to do everything in my power to fix it. It is because of my shortcomings that we are in this position, and I understand that. I also understand that during these last few months, things have been difficult for you. And I want you to know that I am so sorry for that. And if there is a way for us to move forward, I would love to do that. But if there is not in your eyes, then I understand. Nimbus, do you do anything here?
Nimbus is... I think it's important to point out that Nimbus has never seen her parents fight before.
Yeah.
That if there was one thing that they did very, very well, it was be an example of like a functioning adult relationship. They never raised their voices with one another ever. So this is like shocking to her. But if there is a moment of silence for her to collect herself,
there is.
I think she would jump in with I think maybe you should at least hear what
Malicor kind of pipes up and says, yes, and I want the two of you to know that I don't blame you for what's happened to me.
Oh.
The two of them just look at Malicor, and you see the look on your parents' faces, Nimbus, of just like abject sadness. Like there is mutual regret there.
Yeah.
And then they kind of like shoot a look towards you that is very similar. Just like, ooh, we really bad parents. Ooh.
Yeah.
But there's just a few moments of them just staring silently at each other. And then you notice that like subtly your mom and your father and mother are like pointing their pinkies at each other every now and then. So clearly they're having some conversation via message.
So that's not how message works in PF2E. That's how it works in 5e.
I know. It's just I need to tell. I need to tell for you to realize they're casting the spell to each other.
I think
sorry.
that's cute.
If the two of you wanted to have a private conversation, you could have asked.
You just see your father look towards you and say, Nimbus, I apologize, but we saw how fighting was causing you trouble, so we decided to take it to a psychic plane.
Hmm.
Can we just talk?
Your
I
mother
know
pipes
that's
up.
like
Where would you like
impossible
to
for our
start?
family, but I genuinely, I don't know.
Your mother pipes up. I think that would be a very good idea. How about you? And she looks towards your father, says, I think that there needs to be words that are said now. Yes. Malachor's just like, yes, I agree. It's just like, yes, I'm here too. Hello. Malachor kind of shifts towards beside you, Nimbus.
Oh God.
And then like he pulls up some chairs for everyone to like sit down. You just see Malachor being like very much,
I'm
I've never
safe,
seen them
Malachor.
fight. It's
Oh,
like,
darling.
I've never seen them angry. I'm fearing for my life right now, Nimbus.
No, I've not seen them. Well, I've not seen them angry at each other ever. It's jarring. I agree, but it's not grounds to have a full conversation in front of people and not involve them. That's just impolite.
Oh yeah, so they will sit down around this table with you, Nimbus. And your father just like looks at you and says, all right, you had a question in the boneyard.
Yes. I believe I asked you in the boneyard why you sent Garl or left Garl in the Magiscard wastes of all places.
Well, at the time, that section of the Magiscard Waste was a secure faculty being used to create and rehabilitate the Crystal Warriors.
But you went in there and picked off a crystal, and that was recently.
That was partly due to a recurring nightmare I have.
Oh?
I'm sure you saw some of those visions with the light enveloping the world. I now have a feeling I know what that light is.
As do I.
And I think I now have a feeling I know who those people standing in front of it are.
Yeah.
Which, personally, I hate because the thought of you going into more danger kills me. But that is beside the point. In the case of Garl, there was a time I debated whether or not I would send Garl there with their memories or without them. Every time I sent Garl to help you with their memories, you were eaten by the light. For some reason, some change without that memory, something changes in some butterfly effect changes in that sort of events. Maybe the lack of memories are what causes Garl's personality to become what it is now. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe something the memory this Garl did proceeds to help you in some way. Like, has Garl's existence for anyone in your close life during these last few years changed anyone? Maybe that might be what that did. I don't know.
Well, Garl herself, I mean, you heard her. She sort of views a lot of the goings on of her time before she was I don't want to say frozen, that sounds wrong, but before she was asleep, she views it as like a separate life. So a lot of the wrongs that she experienced at the hands of other people were sort of immediately forgiven, but mostly on the grounds that she didn't feel like they happened to her.
I will have to unpack that at a later date.
Right. I have
But-
wondered myself that if she had those memories, if she would have been so forgiving. But there's also a part of me that knows that she is happiest, I think, the way she is.
That is good. I do not particularly have many well, to put it quite frankly, Nimbus, please do not take what I'm about to say the incorrect way. But when you are infiltrating an enemy country, sometimes keeping a low profile is helpful.
Is that directed at us?
Just a little bit.
Maybe.
In fairness, there's only so low of a profile that a group of people like us can keep.
Now, that being said, he just kind of like holds out his hand towards you. Like as if to like give you like a handshake type of the situation. And like once you put your hand in his, he grabs it with his other hand and just like looks you directly in the eyes. Nimbus, I am so proud of the woman you've become. And I am so proud of the actions that you've taken whilst we have been able to act. You are the reason why this world will live on. And you friends and everything. And then there's like a slight pause. And thank you for kicking the shit out of that battle-hungry asshole.
Wow.
Nim looks overwhelmed, but also a little bit guilty.
Interesting.
At the hands of all of this praise, and especially at like having watched her father go to Treladar and now knowing that in no uncertain terms that he knew from the start what was going on and was going to stop it. Actually, I think the first question I want to ask is, did you know it was me who told Drevran?
He just looks at you. Yes.
When?
Gunther told us. And it was the right decision. It was the right decision. I'm not going
Nimbus
to chast. Your father
Nimbus
just looks
lets
at
out
you.
a breath that she has been holding for probably the last year.
Your father just looks at you. I'm not going to chastise any of the decisions that you've made, Nimbus. I can't. You've acted. You've done the best to the best of your ability to save lives and do right in the world. And as a father, I could not be more proud of you. And as a person who also followed a similar path in their youth, I can respect those choices and that you've probably had to make some of the hardest choices that no one of your age should have ever had to have made.
I promise it wasn't easy.
I
I
know.
didn't want to tell him.
He just like holds your hand, and I didn't want to leave Garl. But sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do to save the world.
Slay.
Okay.
Malachor kind of pipes up. Yes, speaking of that. And then once again, mother, father, abject sadness. Yes, speaking of that, Malachor. I cannot reverse the chronomancy on you. I'm not skilled in that magic. Lucinda may be able to do something, but I've not heard high or tail of her in some time. And to put it quite frankly, she does not stay in one place very long often. The only other mage I know who's ever dabbled in chronomancy is a absolutely terrible person who I would not trust to do it. But they're out there. If you want to return to your former state, we can get rid of your memories of this. We can do that eventually, but it will take time. I would have to go to the shadow plane to collect the individual. It would be difficult.
Can I just say that miracle may also be an option to reverse something like this if it can reverse the effects of a wish spell.
Your father looks at you and is like, you're capable of casting that by now.
That's why you're here.
And once again, the look on his face of just pride. Like, holy shit, you're awesome.
Slay.
For the first time, Nim kind of straightens up. You can tell that conversation with Drevern has been eating at her and has not been allowing her to, like, sort of accept this validation.
You hear Malachor speak. What if I want to stay like this?
Ew.
I understand that there was a life taken from me, but this is the life I have now, and quite frankly, I'm quite happy with it now. And he just kind of like looks towards you, Nimbus. Like, I understand that maybe I could be a different person, but I'm quite happy with the person I am, and hopefully with the person I'll become one day with proper guidance. And he once again just kind of like puts his hand on your lap, Nimbus.
I think you can do whatever you want, Malachor. It is as you said, you are a grown man.
Yes, and it is, of course, your decision, your mother says. You were not given that choice. You were not given that choice. The least we can do is give you that choice. Nimbus, I'm sure there are many other things you want to say to us, and there are many other things that I want to say to you. However, we may not necessarily have the time to have that conversation at this moment.
No.
This has been an indulgent amount of time as it is. We still have to deal with Eklund, the conjuration mage, and then Samuel Valenfell himself.
Eklund has taken residence at the base of Samuel's tower. That terrible propaganda officer that they've hired on Elinasto.
Yes, we have prior dealt with him. He is a character.
You see your father, I'm going to cast a spell. Do not worry, it is not an offensive spell, it is ascending. And he stands up. All right, we will head to the sitting room. We're going to meet everyone there. Malachor, could you go collect Corellia from the library? Malachor just kind of like nods their head and runs off. Well, we've been unable to act till now, Nimbus. I suppose it's time we start pulling our own weight. He just kind of like takes your hand.
Can I ask why?
He points
No,
to
I just think it's
himself.
funny.
I understand.
He points to himself. Says, Celestial.
No, I understand, but the rest
Yep.
of them? Rossmine, the Archmage of Necromancy and Enchantment, Minerva was fully willing to help, as was Percival after a little bit of, help for help. Something that has been eating at me since arriving in Treladar is just how many people in power were waiting.
I cannot speak for the rest of them. And I will not judge your mother for her action.
I might. And I look at my mom.
She just like looks at you, and for the split second, there's once again just like remorse, confusion going over her face. But for now, I think we need to circle the wagon, so to speak. We don't have much time before Samuel enacts his final plans, and
We should still have, 4 days?
yes, and if I'm correct, hopefully Rosemine and the rest of them have been doing at least something during this time. Initially, I was supposed to sort of be the decision-making body for this group, but that didn't work out.
Right.
And yeah, he leads you back to the sitting room where everyone else is. Lynx and Garl, a door opens, and you just see Rosemine walking out.
Huh?
And Rosemine says, "Oh, Garl, good to see you again."
I'm getting
We
real
met her at
tired
the
of this.
casino.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I
totally.
know, from the casino, Garl.
Wait, I know this one.
And yes, everyone walks in at that point. Minerva, Necromance, the Archmage, Percival comes in with his wife.
Wow.
Aw.
And yeah, just basically all of the adults that Nimbus has, like all of the grown ass adults that Nimbus has been chastising for their lack of action, are now in this room.
I think the only one she isn't like side-eyeing a little bit is Lady Venthro.
Yeah.
Nimbus strongly suspects that the reason that she insisted on her vacation to the Opal Empire when she did was because she knew she needed to be there to help fairy people.
Mhm. But yes, as all the biggest players in the world are now in this room, your father closes the door, locks it, and a magical enchantment of anti-scrying covers the room. All right.
Quick question before we begin, though, Will.
Yes.
Garl, with her always on true sight, scans everyone in the room to make sure they are who they appear to be, and that there's no one like standing in a corner under like an invisibility cloak.
There's
rubbing
no
their hands
imposters.
evilly.
There's no imposters
No
or
one's
anyone.
sus. Is
No,
anyone
no.
venting?
No one is venting. Well, Nim is venting a little bit, but that's beside the point.
Different kind of venting.
Yeah.
Different kind of venting. But yes, as everyone is now in this room, Nimbus's father kind of like holds out his hand to like bring Nimbus to the head of this table with him. And he just kind of looks at you and then looks at the rest of the group here and says, "All right, we have 4 days to kill Samuel. How do we want to do this?" And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba.
Yeah, it's not being paranoid in a world of magic and shape changers and
No.
Treladar, there's no such
people
thing
who
as
have messed with
paranoia.
Garl's brain various times.
Yeah, so that's where we're going to end the session for our players. But for you, the audience, and our players will not use this information as canon. For you, the audience, we have one last scene.
Oh, I love these.
Oh no.
We head towards the Archmage's tower, specifically to the base of the tower. And you see a older gentleman, human, graying hairs and such, in the appropriate robes as the Archmage of Conjuration. You see them holding a sigil stone in their hand. I am the last one. He looks up towards like a painting of the Archmage of Treladar. And I will do anything to protect my home. And then as he moves the sigil, like and puts it into his pocket, you see a book in front of him that is written in Infernal. And that's where we're going to end the session for our audience.
Interesting.
Interesting reaction.
Infernal, you say?
Everyone, thank you so much for coming to the 100th episode of the League of Amazing Adventurers.
Woohoo!
And kind of a recap episode.